Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic are the top 5 most wanted minor races in Warhammer Fantasy, so without further ado, let's begin. The Warhammer Fantasy world is absolutely massive, filled with many different races, each so drastically different from each other, some of which have already been translated into the Total War Warhammer series. But there are still many which have yet to be translated digitally, with many fans often taking to the forums requesting for these races to be eventually added in. So with that, we've compiled a top 5 list of the most requested minor races. Please bear in mind that our classification for minor races would be anything that did not have an 8th edition army book. So the Demons of Chaos and the Ogre Kingdoms, the only remaining races that did have an 8th edition army book, will not be featured in this list. For our 5th spot, we have the mysterious land of Albion. Inspired by Celtic-era Britain and Ireland, the people of Albion are said to be primal yet very spiritual, where its leaders, the Truthsayers, are also inspired by ancient Celtic druids. The history of Albion goes back millennia, back to a time when the Old Ones still walked the Warhammer Fantasy world. And in truth has been fleshed out very little since then. What is known is that the Old Ones themselves saw promise in the people of Albion, where its tribal leaders, eventually known as the Truthsayers, were directly taught by the Old Ones. Humanity was fleshed out from here, and many tribes did eventually start moving to different corners of the world, but some still remained in Albion where their ancient traditions kept true. Eventually, due to the event known as the Great Catastrophe, the mystical place known as Albion was enshrouded by mists, and for many years the people there were isolated from the known world. While the rest of the world advanced technologically, the people of Albion stayed pretty much the same, where centuries of inbreeding not only affected them but the local giants of the region. Albion is a very curious place. Magic flows more intensively there. Time is more of a concept than a reality. And perhaps it is because of this why so many Total War Warhammer fans want the mystical island of Albion to be playable with its own unique race. For our 4th spot, we have the Halflings. The Halflings are a rather curious race. Child-sized humanoids with an incredible love for food and a bit of a passion for thievery. Most are known to be accepted members of the Empire, but the Halflings themselves are very drastically different in terms of culture. Halflings do not worship Sigmar or Ulrich, but rather their own pantheon. They have their own specific religious and political holidays, and lastly their own standing armies. While the Halfling armies themselves might not be so impressive to the greater races of the Warhammer world, Halflings make excellent scouts and thieves, and also have standing armies in terms of other units. They have their own form of cavalry, normally mounted upon chickens and swans. Halflings are known to be expert archers, albeit with a short bow. Their own form of artillery, such as the Halfling Hotpot or even their own variant of a steam tank, and obviously basic frontline melee units. The Halflings themselves aren't that great in warfare but do pair well nicely with the Empire. The majority of them can be found within their homeland of the Moot, and to be honest, yes, they were a joke race. However, despite being a joke race, they had a lot of established units in the lore, and most of their lore was actually generally quite well established, where in most cases they had a lot more lore than other highly requested races and factions such as those of Cathay, Albion and a few others. Despite being a joke race, the Halflings were always decently admired by the Warhammer fans, and to be honest, I quite enjoyed them too, so it would be nice to see them as a playable faction at one point, even if it just means them being a sub-faction to the Empire. For our 3rd spot, we have the Grand Empire of Cathay, an empire located to the far east of the Warhammer world inspired by ancient China. Cathay is known for its beautiful sights, exotic spices, fine silks among other things, and a massive standing army. Cathay is known for having one of the largest armies in the Warhammer world, where hundreds of thousands of bannermen await the call to battle. The Cathayans have also near enough perfected the use of black powder weaponry, and their wizards are known to be extremely competent at manipulating the winds of magic. But what really makes the Cathayan military so unique is their use of constructs. Living terracotta-styled warriors in varying shapes and sizes, very similar to how the Tomb Kings have their own living constructs such as the Upshatti. Cathay is often referred to as the strongest empire in the known Warhammer world. Despite being almost surrounded by many threats, especially the many Chaos tribes to the west, Cathay still stands true in a very defensible position. This is in thanks to the Great Bastion, a massive wall network that stretches for many hundreds of miles and can garrison many thousands of men. This great bastion has kept many potential threats away for many thousands of years. So long as it stands, so does Cathay. And yes, I am completely aware that this is a complete and utter rip-off of ancient China. I think everyone is aware of this at this point, but this was early GW lore for them. They just basically stole from practically everything that existed. However, it does work quite well, and Cathay is very well known throughout the fans. Their possible inclusion will be completely dependent on where the final game of this series will be based on. If it's based on the Far East, then it would be very likely to see Cathay as an eventual playable faction and race. For our second spot, we have the Chaos Dwarfs, the Darwizar. The Chaos Dwarfs are the long-lost relatives of the Darwi, those who aren't really acknowledged at this point. Thousands of years ago, the Karaz Angkor spread through many miles. During their expansion, a rather large group of dwarves traveled to the east. There they found themselves constantly attacked by the horrors of chaos, and eventually lost contact with their brethren to the west. Unfortunately for them, they were fighting a losing war, and eventually salvation came to them in the form of the Father of Darkness, Hashut. This minor but still very powerful deity offered the dwarves salvation in return of servitude. Seeing no other alternative except for death, these dwarves were forced to agree. And from then on, their path of damnation was set before them. The dwarfs were now changed. These were now the Darwizar. Despite being naturally resistant to magic, these dwarfs began to mutate. Some of them also began to start being able to wield the winds of magic. However, many of them would eventually turn to stone by doing so. They were still very technologically advanced, the same as their former kin, but now even possibly more so as they made use of demonic magics, fusing that with their own engineering. Their personalities had also been drastically changed. These dwarfs only knew cruelty, often enslaving the many indigenous tribes of the region to be used as slaves or even just experimental subjects. Honestly, it's only a matter of time until we see playable Chaos Dwarves, most likely during the lifespan of the third and final game of the series. They've already got some sort of minor representation in the series, as the Hell Cannon crew is manned by Chaos Dwarves, but I think more is coming. And now for our first spot, Kislev. There's not really much to say here. The Kislevites have always been highly requested ever since Total War Warhammer began. They are the first line of defense against chaos. The Kislevites are a hardy folk, and well, whilst Kislev does get destroyed every so often, they always rebuild and stay strong. Despite being so close to the Empire, they have their own unique way of life, being very accustomed to the frozen north, expert fighters especially in skirmishing warfare, having their own unique lore of magic, the lore of ice, and more famously known for riding bears into combat. Yeah, bear cavalry. Kislev is one of those minor races that is almost definite to be added into the Total War Warhammer series, mainly because Games Workshop have announced the new revival of Warhammer Fantasy in the form of Warhammer the Old World, and Kislev was confirmed to be one of the first new races for that series. Yes, this was set 500 years before the timeline of 8th edition, which is more or less where we are right now, but Kislev being reimagined for the tabletop could also mean them being reimagined for Total War Warhammer, especially since minor races such as the Vampire Coast have managed to find their way into the series, and they had far less lore than anything else. But this was our list for the top 5 most wanted races in the Total War Warhammer series. Do you agree with this list, or would you put any others in the top 5? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? In truth, there are a lot of different minor races in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, but we think that these 5 are the most likely to become playable in the future. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly guys, thank you so much for all the support lately, it's been amazing. But with that my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.